This is Shelley Kraft. We're coming to you live on SNNLive. We're at BioInvest Israel. We're in Haifa, Israel 2012. Standing next to me is an old friend, Tony Viscogliosi, Dr. Tony Viscogliosi from Viscogliosi Brothers, VB Brothers LLC, principal and panelist at this conference, a panel that I happen to have sat through. And by the way, I'm going to get back to that in a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. and Dr. Tony Viscogliosi, how are you?
It's a pleasure to be here with you, Shelley. Thank you very much for the opportunity to spend a few minutes, and it's great to be together again.
It was remarkable to see you first, and I'm so glad we're talking. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get right into it. Let's go to the panel first.
Sure.
What was that panel about?
The panel was about minding the gap, how to deal with the gap in capital formation that exists today versus what it was like a few years ago.
So here I am sitting in and listening, and it was the first panel up of the day. And all of a sudden, I hear a voice that I recognized, and that voice is saying, well, let me tell you, let me add something else to this panel. And you added something that was so incredible to a panel that's looking at these alternative methods of financing, and I hear a chime, and reimbursement, ladies and gentlemen.
Right, and you know, we talked about at this panel how important it is to create value in a business. So many investors today are focused on getting to an exit as quickly as possible. At Viscogliosi Brothers, we're focused on developing real, sustainable, long-term value by investing in clinical, regulatory, and reimbursement activities other than just intellectual property. And that was the point I was making in the particular commentary, that reimbursement is a critical factor in the success of any business today in healthcare.
Not only did I get it, I thought it was brilliant, but it was also indicative of what's going on in the overall case of healthcare in the U.S.
Well, you know, healthcare is the issue that's on everybody's mind. The Obama administration is using the Justice Department to lower the cost of healthcare. And so what that means is that a company cannot develop a product and get it cleared for use in one indication, but then have doctors use it in another. And reimbursement is the key component of tying the technology with the regulatory process together in one, so that the pathway from lab table to clinical use is a seamless thread. And this thread needs to be followed by consistent reimbursement in order for businesses to build successful values today.
And not only that, ladies and gentlemen, just to show that I was paying attention, it was also the usage of the getting of the reimbursement that actually acts as a barrier to competition, even if they had better IP or the same IP. Am I correct?
Well, this is right. In fact, the truth is that the government, through the regulatory clearance process for the clearance of medical devices and pharmaceuticals, and through the reimbursement process, provides a de facto monopoly, if you will, of competitive position, allowing the company that holds that competitive lock in reimbursement and in regulatory approval a long opportunity to sell the technology in the market versus technologies that still have to prove their value in terms of clinical, their value in terms of success for the patient.
Now, you see what this means is that in terms of what you do inside of a company that you would normally be a funding source of, you're now coming in and saying, okay, I get it. I see your IP, but what's your plan for reimbursement? Because now that's a whole new topic. And it may not take as many years as it could take for a startup to go through an FDA approval, correct?
Well, what I can say is this, that intellectual property value is very important in creating business value, but what I think is more important than intellectual property value is the value of the regulatory clearance that you have and the reimbursement clearance that you have. Because once you have the regulatory clearance, No amount of litigation can change that. When you have IP, there can be a lot of litigation. You can spend a lot of capital defending your position. When you've got the regulatory approval, the government protects your position in the marketplace. And when your reimbursement is aligned with the regulatory approval, then you've got a home run opportunity.
And it also brings a cadre of docs and hospitals to your door as well to use your product.
You know, and today in healthcare, the doctor is no longer the sole decision maker. So this is why the regulatory approval and the reimbursement is critical. And you've got to prove that the technology is superior to the gold standard that was previously used, and you've got to prove that it's economically cheaper and that it's better for the patient. When you demonstrate these things, then not only does the doctor make the decision, but the C-suite of the hospital and the insurance payer makes the decision. And that's who we've got to win over today in today's healthcare economy. The insurance payer, the C-suite of the hospital, and the patient. Because the doctor is transitioning from the important decision maker to the lesser decision maker of the cadre of decision makers.
All right, let's segue from that brilliance to what's going on at VP Brothers these days.
Well, Viscogliosi Brothers is here in Israel because we believe there is tremendous opportunity of innovation here that is stifled by three gaps that exist: the financing gap, the commercialization gap, and a management gap. And we think we can bring capital, management, and commercialization strength to the ideas in the orthopedic industry that are innovated here, and we can help carry these out to the rest of the world, just like we have repeatedly done with a number of technologies that we've developed in France, Germany, Switzerland, and other parts of the world, and commercialized them all around the world. Viscogliosi Brothers has founded 35 companies. We've had 11 exits, and in the 11 exits, we've generated $1.2 billion in investment returns for ourselves and for our partners. And each time that we developed a success, we recognized that the success had a great deal to do with the amount of energy that we put in actually physically managing the business and driving the strategy. Not just serving as an investor and on the board looking at our watch and saying, when is a return going to happen? We're not that kind of investor. We're an active partner that creates value by intimately being involved in the business direction of the technology.
Sounds like the right place and the right time for the Viscogliosi Brothers, doesn't it?
We're lucky and we're happy to be here.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Tony Viscogliosi, Viscogliosi Brothers. We're going to get a website. Please give it. I'll shake your hand.
Yes, thank you. VBLLC.com. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, check it out. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thanks. Well done. Thank you.